There was a young girl from a small little town. She was fearless, full of life, and she rarely frowned. She loved singing, riding bikes, and especially playing sports. She played hard with the boys and built countless forts. On any given day, you could find her outside. This was the place where she truly thrived. When she turned 13, there was a girl in her class who started leading her down quite a different path. This classmate's mother was desperate to be cool. She'd let them drink in her basement. Oh, what a fool. A precious child that once lived with no fear took a turn for the worst in these teenage years. She was violated by some friends, so they claim. They performed the shameful act and she carried all the shame. She started drinking more and spiraling fast. She couldn't silence the voice that said she was trash. She was good at volleyball and had been offered a full ride. Her heart was set on a big school, and in that she'd take pride. But at the end of the day, the school that she chose was a small one, the one where she partied the most. God has a sense of humor, and here's how I know why. She signed 4 years at a Christian college in a county that was dry. Forever getting in trouble and always sneaking out, she didn't get the Christian thing and had a lot of doubt. Church and youth groups were always mandatory. She had no idea this would all be part of her story. She kept drinking more than ever and seeking attention from guys. She fell for the devil's schemes and believed all of his lies. She moved to New York after college to get a brand new start. The nightlife and the party scene once again stole her heart. Stuck in the same old cycle of drinking and hooking up, having no idea Jesus was dying to fill her cup. One night she went to dinner with her boss twice her age, woke up naked in his bed and her heart full of rage. She knew this wouldn't happen if sober she would stay, but alcohol was what made the insecurities go away. She went on a trip from New York to LA, convinced her brother this was the next place to run away. She was always on the run, but see, God runs much faster. Their first friend in LA, turns out he was a pastor. For 6 years he would say, "I'm going to church, you want to go?" For 6 years she would say, "Me? Go to church? Oh no." She tried to play it cool and she would act quite pretentious. Problem is, with this lifestyle, you can't escape the consequences. She ended up with news that was very embarrassing to her. She had gotten a disease that nobody could cure. Would she really have to carry this for her whole entire life? How would she ever find love or have kids or be a wife? She would replay over and over what the nurse had just said. The only thing she wished was that she would be dead. How absurd that despite the consequences of her sin, she'd find herself in the same cycle over and over again. It didn't take long for her to find a new guy. To fill another void, she bought into that lie. They partied and had sex since that's all she knew. She ended up pregnant and she didn't know what to do. She had a baby inside her that she thought she must abort, only cared about herself. Now life was cut short. She carried on through life drinking more, believe it or not, night after night, shot after shot. She started modeling and having success. She got more attention the sexier she dressed. Her pictures were on billboards and her face was on TV, but she was just so far from being free. She'd party in famous people's homes and even on their yachts, a broken and empty girl in beautiful exotic spots. Facebook friends would message and say how jealous they were, that her lifestyle was so glamorous and they wanted to be her. Why anyone would want that, she hadn't a clue. She would think to herself, if they only knew. She got engaged, had nice things, and tried whatever drugs she was dealt. All this to try and numb the emptiness she felt. One night she decided her life should just end. Thank God for her brother, her very best friend. He invited her to church. He finally told that pastor yes. She said, "Me? Go to church? I've got nothing to lose, I guess." From the minute she walked through those 2 double doors, she felt something different, something she hadn't before. The first 6 months in church, all she did was cry as she came to know a love that actually satisfied. As she began to heal and she began to change, her fiancé was simply not on the same page. She met the pastor and his wife. Their love was like fire. It was pure, it was selfless, and his wife was all he desired. As she sat with these two, they began to build her faith. They said when it comes to sex, it'd be wise to wait. She started thinking about her decisions. Wait, what was that? Could it be that her conscience was starting to come back? With all her might, she couldn't shake the conviction. She wanted God's best, so she had to listen. She moved out of his lovely condo, such a tough decision to make. She knew sin separates, and it was her relationship with Jesus that was at stake. She went on a church retreat and threw her hands in the air. Everyone was in worship, and the Holy Spirit was there. She begged God to take these feelings away. She wasn't strong enough to end it, so all she could do was pray. The very next week, she went to church and was single. She was there to worship and not to mingle. She caught the worship leader's eye. He liked what he saw. He loved how she worshiped, and he was in awe. They became great friends and took things slow. Bible studies and comedy nights are places they'd go. This new guy was different. His goal was not to flatter. His kindness was authentic and made her feel like she mattered. Do you remember how this girl was when the story first begun? Well, that's how he made her feel, as she was having sober fun. He didn't drink or use drugs. Waiting till marriage to have sex? In that moment, she thanked God her fiancé was now her ex. See, she had to give it all up first, so God could give her more, and it was endless gifts that he began to pour. But her past was haunting her, and she couldn't get over her pride. There was so much from him that she wanted to hide. One night they were sitting in a restaurant parking lot. She started to remember something she had long forgot. Her hands would not stop sweating and her heart was beating fast, but she mustered up enough courage to share with him her past. She said, "You've waited this long, you cannot be with me. 7 years ago, I contracted an incurable STD. He looked her dead in the eyes, and then he grabbed her face. What I want is not a decision that you get to make. He said that didn't scare him, and he loved her anyway, and told her he had plans to marry her someday. She sat there dumbfounded and had no words to speak. She just looked at him in awe as tears rolled down her cheeks. You see, the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. His goal is to confiscate every ounce of your joy. God didn't plan for her to go down that path, but Jesus took her sins and she was made whole at last. Regardless of what you've done, there's hope because making beauty from ashes is just what God does. Now remember the little girl back at the start who was fully alive with purity in her heart? The girl full of smiles who was on the right track? The one who held her head high? Well, she's back.